It is 5:32. I believe we have enough members to begin our meeting, but if you read the roll call, just to verify that we do have a quorum.
Mr. Castro,
Not here, absent.
Ms. Rosa Centeno Hinojosa,
Present.
Mr. Juan Avila,
Present.
Mr. Geisler,
Present.
Mr. Kazin,
Present.
Mr. Sanchez,
Present.
Mr. Gomez,
I'm here.
Mr. Somerville, and Mrs. Escobedo. Not here. You do have enough for a quorum.
Excellent. Next, if anyone's had a chance to read over the minutes.
I read the minutes, but I'm sorry, I can't move for it because remember I was not here in the meeting. So that's all I can say.
Reapprove.
We have a motion. Is there a?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to accept the minutes as presented. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. The minutes are approved for July 9th, 2019. Do we have anyone who has signed up for public comments?
No, we do not.
Okay, then we'll move on to staff reports and communication.
Just gonna go ahead and go over it. For our ridership report, for the month of July, we had a total of 3,850 riders.
3,000, what's it?
850 riders. You know how that goes, picking up bike trips and stuff. This total of 3,850.
Just really quickly, this is the month that it will start increasing due to the students.
Hopefully, yes,
Yeah.
due to back to school.
Hopefully it'll
Once
go
we
up.
transfer back to
Mhm.
school. Yes. And then on our cancellation report, we had a total of 740 cancellations. Of those 740, 292 were 24 hours in advance, and 319 were late cancellations. We had 94 no-shows, 50 canceled at the door, 12 canceled from dispatch. We only had 10 client not ready, which means the rider was not ready at the moment of pickup. 19 who did not answer, 1 no-show, and 2 no reason given for those cancellations.
It's getting better.
Yes, it's reducing.
And it's actually per trip, right? The
Yes.
cancellations
Yeah.
are per trip, not per person.
Not per person. And
Yes.
then 36 IVR, which is through the phone system. The phone system calls to remind you. 36 trips were canceled through the phone system.
Discussion, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
On the clients not ready, how much time are we giving them per se? Like, is there a little swing in between, like
It's the
4 or 5 minute?
The 15-minute window before and after,
Okay,
and then todavía si let's say your pickup's at 3:30,
correct.
the driver can get there at 3:15, and then he waits 5 minutes up to 3:20.
5 minutes. yeah.
Okay, so it's a 5 minute window.
Right.
15-minute window, you should be ready 15 before or 15 after, but from the moment the driver gets there, as long as it's within the window, it's a 5-minute wait.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
On the end of month registered customers, we ended up having 19 new registered customers, 14 renewals, and that's a total of 33 for the month of new or renewal customers. Bringing our total to registered customers, 836 clients.
Which is likely higher than what was reported last.
Yes.
So there should be an increase, like we said, schools coming back around, students.
I'll be getting you my application. Hopefully I can take it tomorrow. I get someone to take me tomorrow to leave it over there at Scott, right?
Yes. Oh, whichever.
And if I'm
Scott,
there
wherever
downtown, I'll leave it
Transit
there.
Center's fine, yes. And for our mobility report, we had a total of 60 wheelchair trips. And that brings our total of 188 wheelchair customers for the paratransit department.
And that was how many again? 160?
188.
188.
188, right. Total
Oh, I'm
clients.
looking at the fixer out there.
Is Sandy's not coming?
And one of the extra copies that I provided right now, it's the fixed right wheelchair boarding report, because we made corrections on the first report we had provided. If you had seen, one of the routes had about 160 wheelchairs for the month. It was a wrong number, so we went back, looked at the system, and we
Got the brakes.
So we actually had a total of 240 wheelchair clients for the month of July. But in the fixed route.
Writing on the fixed route.
Yeah, writing on the fixed route. This was the fixed route wheelchair volume report for the month of July.
Mr. Gustavo, are you aware that the GPSs on the vans are not working?
Oh, no, we have not been aware of it.
Okay, because the van that I came, the driver, excellent driver, and he had his phone like this, and he told me, I'm not supposed to use my phone, that's why you see it there. He said, but it said the GPS is not working. And I was really surprised because it's one of the new vans, you know. So just for you to be on the lookout for that.
Is that something that is checked for in the pre-trip or?
It's supposed to.
They are required to check all the components in the vehicle. And I have to say on the record, by contract, bus drivers are prohibited from using the cell phone. And since it's on the record already, this person is subject to termination. So I have to say it on record.
Excuse me, I think he said he had reported it. But
Yes,
something that went on, something had to be done.
Yeah, the
That
vans,
cannot be, you know, it couldn't because they had to take it or something and that wouldn't, you know, that wouldn't do it because then he would lose. You all wouldn't have one van, you know, it's up to that, you know, that's what I understood. I don't know if that's the way it works.
so that was the van that you used just right now to come to the meeting today?
Yes, ma'am. In that van. I didn't check the number or anything. The driver was a Mr. Torres. Very nice young man.
We'll go ahead and confirm that yes, bus operators are required to check the vehicle and report any issues.
And I know, I think he said he had reported, but he said when it went on, but really I don't remember exactly.
Mr. Teno, question, and I know it's, well, I'm not even going to question it because it's not even on paper, so.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
just thought I'd let you all know so you can be aware.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and check.
You know, and the thing is that, you know, that the drivers are not supposed to use their phones. So those are concerns, you know, because if they catch them with a phone, that you all can fire them.
It's termination.
Yes, yes.
Unfortunate.
So that's one of the reasons why I'm bringing it up, so you all can check on it.
We'll definitely check.
He got the phone over there, but he said, I have it there in my GPS because my GPS from the van is not working. And I can understand that.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe personnel matters are not something that we can necessarily discuss. And it would be something that we maybe be able to bring up in executive
In the
session.
future.
Yeah,
And in the future, if we do, and we can talk in general about what the protocol is.
Maybe under the maintenance report.
Oh, yeah, the maintenance report, something like that.
We
just
keep
in
on if
general.
you want to bring it up. That way we can follow, and make sure everything we stick to is.
Yeah,
to follow protocol.
if we want to, I mean, if there's a motion to bring up item number 7 under 5, or 5.7, we can bring it up and talk about it now, I guess. If somebody would want to make that motion to bring up that item, and then we can discuss the maintenance issues.
Well, maybe we should, I so move to move the
Is there a
item.
second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor of moving up staff report item, which is item 5.7, to discussion now? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. So we're now back on the maintenance report.
So I guess, let me go through the brief rundown. On our vans, the total number of miles traveled was 24,121. Percent PMI, permits for maintenance inspections, 100%. Road calls on the lift, which can be the lift stop or breakdown. Pretty much in general, we only had 1 for the month of July. And for our fixed route buses, we traveled a total of 155,152 miles. Also 100% PMIs, 0 road calls, and also 0 road calls on lifts broken down. We had no road calls. But preventive maintenance is 100% on the vans as well.
So that preventive maintenance is, again, for those that may not know, that involves actually the physical van, the oil, the tires, the different.
Pretty much, I guess we can put the mechanical side
Right.
of it. But it would be up to the driver to do their walk around
Their
and their pre-trip,
inspections.
their inspection.
Because it's a pre-trip and a post-trip.
Yes. make sure to report any malfunctions, anything that's not working properly that might not allow them to do their job as efficiently as it should. Then it would fall on the driver, make sure to get reported and get taken care of.
Would the van be grounded if something like that were not working, like the GPS or something?
It all depends. It's complex, so either we can switch the tablet or switch the van. It all depends.
Well, that's right, because the tablet's now moved.
Yeah, something to that effect, that's what the driver said.
The newer vans have a set tablet,
So
so
they do?
so those stay there. But the
Okay.
older vans, you still might switch. So it all
You can
depends.
switch
The tablet, we would have to go back and check
Yeah.
circumstances as to
Oh, this-
why the GPS wasn't working
this
or
is-
why he continued on route.
this was a new van, so, you know, it's,
Can check on it.
Continued discussion? Mr. Chairman?
First, let's let the record reflect that Ms. Escobedo has joined us.
Hello. I'll get
So-
your signature at the end, that's fine.
Okay,
Just
sure.
sign it.
So we'll go ahead and continue discussion. We were discussing the maintenance report. In particular, it was brought to our attention that a GPS may have not been working today on one of the newer vans. So, Mr. Avila, you were saying we're continuing discussion?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, just for the record, I don't know, Mr. Guerrero, if you can answer this, but prior, per se, Mr. Kaysen was a driver yesterday for this particular van, and he made his, I know they used to fill out the pre-trip inspection and the post-trip and everything for the van. Do the mechanics follow through on that? Like, let's say this was reported since yesterday, but it was an overload or what have you, it's possible. I mean, there is a lot of work, but prior, I mean, I'm going to what you stated, and, you know, it's hard to, you know, to overlook at it, but if it was already reported, and like you said, on record, you know, but did they, if there was a prior report on it,
Mr. Chairman, I think we're trying to head into a direction that really is not the scope for this committee. I don't know exactly what we're trying to get to with this conversation, but I just wanted to make the comment. If an operator is found utilizing, reaching, touching, or by any way or mean, an electronic communication device, in this case a cell phone, it's grounds for termination immediately.
But-
So, and I think, you know, as far as that, that's where, you know, we wanna discuss on this table. As far as the protocols, if an operator finds an issue with the vehicle, whether van, the tablet, the tires, the brakes, the wipers, they need to report that to maintenance, and at that point, a decision is made if it's unsafe to continue. The vehicle is not let out of the yard, or if it's removed from service, because sometimes we have issues during the trip. So it's removed from service if it's found unsafe.
and that's exactly my question, ma'am.
Yes.
If it was reported yesterday, but it was an oversight, that it just didn't happen to
It
go through
goes
their
back to
hands.
the bus operator. I mean, I'm responsible, I'm gonna take that vehicle out of the yard, it falls on me. I'm taking the vehicle out of the yard knowing that it's unsafe, knowing that it does not require, it does not meet the requirements. So at that particular point in time, what happened yesterday, there was, like you mentioned, you know, maybe an oversight or you know, those things happen. That's why the driver that comes into the shift, he needs to make sure that the vehicle is drivable and it meets all the requirements. The moment that I roll the van out of the yard, it's on me.
The van can be grounded at any point by either a mechanic, driver, supervisor, or,
Yes.
and they sign off as to whether or not it's going to be safe to drive, or it's going to impact whatever it is that they're going to be able to.
Correct.
Oh, they can?
No, we're on this page.
Oh, okay.
And then that, of course,
And
is
what
signed
line is
off
this
on
one?
and approved.
This is.
Yeah, they'll fill in that trip card. I mean, there might be
this is the
some,
Maintenance report.
Oh.
they say in a conditional working. I mean, that could be something that during
Slide 7.
the trip, you know, maintenance will go out and meet that driver and switch the bus, switch the van. If it's something mechanical that is a safety concern, the driver is instructed to stop the bus and maintenance will go and meet you there, whether to try and perform a repair on the spot or to bring another bus to basically replace the bus or van.
You
Yeah.
have it?
So that's the
I
program.
haven't looked in the entire package.
And supposedly this driver reported that, would someone tell him you can use your phone or have the phone there in case you need the GPS?
Nobody will direct him to do that. at all.
Nobody would direct him to that.
And this is the contract that was negotiated with the union and all.
And again, I mean, if they were moving into a direction that is not the scope of this meeting, yes, the answer to that is yes. It's been in place for the past 4 or 5 years.
And the reason I bring it up, and I understand that you said it's not scope, is because, again, I am concerned with the safety of the passengers, the safety of the drivers, and the safety of the general public. So that is why I am asking what the protocols are
Yes.
that could or could not endanger our ridership and the people that we serve. So.
And that's why
we-
there's no flexibility, there's no gray area.
And that is why we ask, even though in your opinion, it is not part of our scope, but that is why we ask. And so.
No,
we're
that's
gonna move
fine.
on.
Yes,
We will
as
move
far
on.
as the
Thank you.
clarification, it's done.
Because we have concerns, you know.
Yes,
So,
by all means.
but thank you. Discussion is closed now. Thank you.
On the maintenance report.
Anybody else on, any other questions from the?
I would just like to bring something up on the next meeting that we put on the agenda. What is the scope? I mean, we're always, Mr. Chairman, we're always being, left halfway down the road. You can't talk about this, you can't talk about that. It's like, okay, what is this committee here to do? So, I mean, I don't want to break any rules or, anything, but, what she just stated on record, because Mrs. Centeno stated on record, well, it's an open wide conversation. So how far of the loop can we go? She went on and Ms. Centeno went on, so it's like, how far can we go? Or can we bring it up on the next meeting?
Are we following Robert's rules of order?
Unfortunately, the Roberts Rules is not.
It's not enforced? or
Yeah, it's not what we're governed by.
Okay.
And we are following the Open Meetings Act.
Okay.
And so we need to really follow that. And what I would suggest is if you wouldn't mind amending your motion to say that maybe request somebody from legal.
Legal to come in and advise us, up to what
Correct.
step can we speak on?
I just mentioned because I'm concerned,
Of course, and it's a legit, very legit concern, being that you are one of the riders that ride with paratransit.
And so we have a motion to request that someone from the city attorney's office, legal, come in and clarify what it is that we can and can't do, what it is that our scope is. I believe last time we were kind of left in limbo because they just basically said, well, yes and no. But we'll try and hopefully get somebody here.
be more specific.
More specific, a little less legalese and a little more explanation to us. But I'm sorry, there is a motion. I do ask for a second, if there is a second.
I second, but to be amended to that extent.
Okay. There's a motion and a second to request someone from the city secretary's office to clarify the scope of what it is that we can and cannot ask for, or can and cannot be told. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So for next meeting, to have somebody from the city secretary's office to basically come in and clarify some of these,
The attorneys.
yes, city attorneys, I'm sorry.
City attorney, correct?
Yes, city
Mr.
attorney.
Avila? That was the
Correct,
motion.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
For next meeting.
All right. Any other questions on the maintenance report?
We just moved it up, right? We did not skip for the.
No,
moved it
next
up.
would be
The revenue.
revenue report after this.
I guess, I read the minutes I heard the minutes on the last meeting. I wasn't here. I know there was a requested, I guess more of a breakdown on the budget. We usually use about 10 different accounts to get these numbers. So usually what it means, it's not that there's a lot of money left over. It's our budget fiscal year to date, which would be mainly what we get for the whole year. And then our expenses up to the month, and then that's our balance for the rest of the year, rest of the fiscal year. So usually, like, let's say you have 22,000 on insurance, that's our balance still for 2 more months. That can change. Our personnel, 271,000, that can change. That's our balance for the rest of the fiscal year. The first one is what we get for the whole fiscal year for each line item. Our expenses up to the month of, I guess I would say, well, usually I'll put it down here, so it's up to August 8th, the last update when I ran the reports. And then the balance is what's rest for the fiscal year, what's left for the
That's
fiscal
for,
year.
as of October 1st, right?
Yes. So that's the breakdown on that. I know it might seem like, oh, okay, we still have like around 30,000, 40,000, but we still have 2 more months left, so it's like 20,000 per month.
Which is generally projected out to be able to achieve.
Cover it up.
So you're addressing F on the revenue report?
Yes.
I thought we were in line, okay, 6 of the staff report. I'm
Oh, no,
not sure
no,
if there's like a
I'm-
division between.
Oh, you might be looking at the minutes. The
Okay,
first
yeah.
page, yeah, you might be looking at the
Okay.
minutes. It's the first page is the public notice. This one and then this one, right?
Yes, I'm here. So we're in,
There. Number 6, revenue report.
because, yeah, I see the F here. We're
Oh,
talking about
that's
revenue report.
the revenue
Like-
report from the last meeting.
Yeah, I know, but that's what you're addressing, right?
Yes.
Okay. So where's the data chart that you,
No, there's
We're
no data
referencing
chart. I didn't bring the whole, because like I said, it took about 10, 12 accounts where I bring down,
right,
and then we'll print out like,
is there an explanation of it though here in the package?
no. As to each specific account, no.
So it's just you explaining it?
Yes, letting you all
Okay.
know what the
Okay.
balance is.
Well, can you state that again, because I can't remember all that stuff.
Oh, that, the fiscal year to date, that's
Okay.
what we get for the whole 12 months under each line item. Under operations, it's about 5, 6 different accounts that make up operations, administrative and maintenance.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's what we get for the whole year. So I don't, if you ever notice, well, members who've been here before, if you notice, these numbers don't change. It shouldn't change unless there was a transfer out of the line item, but the budgeted amount stays the same. The expenses up to the date it was ran on, so I ran the report on August 8th before they were sent out to you. So these were the expenses we had on each line item up to that date. And then on the balance, it's what we have for the rest of the year.
Since the budget is coming up soon, October 1st, what is your standard or what is the average budget that you start on?
As to like the company,
Yes.
or I guess referring back to the left, it all depends, like I said, there's
And it rolls
a
over.
lot of
to
different
the
accounts,
next
it all
fiscal
depends
year.
if we,
How
But
much
that's
we
still-
spend.
we move money around and we
A good
spend
amount of
it,
money
so
to
it
do
can
something.
fluctuate every year because it changes.
Oh, okay.
So generally, you're talking about
But
a
usually,
$500,000 budget.
That's one.
generally, let's just say it usually stays the same, because it's usually, unless like insurance premiums
So
goes
these are
up,
expenses so
then
far,
we
but
waste
these are
more,
expected
then we have to
expenses for
transfer it, but usually it'll stay about the same amount.
And that's the budgeting process that goes on in August.
Yes. But yes, this is what we get for the whole year, and then that's what we break down by 12 months. So if you notice, the only thing that changes mainly on these reports is the expense and the balance.
I guess what I was trying to say from the last meeting that we held is by looking at this data, you can't exactly tell what you're telling us, which is why I was asking for a report that does say that. It's like looking at a map with no, like legend on it. So that's really just what I was trying to understand from it. I'm not trying to question whether your numbers are right or off or whatever the case might be, but it's just difficult to understand this chart.
I mean, it's good.
Because on your end, you're coming from the back end where you see all the work being done, and we're not seeing that. So that's kind of why I'm saying that, it's like necessary to understand this. But he has another question.
107,742 expenses year up to date, or
Year up
to date?
Yes.
So, and I guess, going back to what my colleague saying here is, we have 22,258, we have 2 more months of going on the budget, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that's all you have for insurance,
Yes.
is that correct?
Yes.
So, what is the breakdown of, what is the amount of, can we have like the amount? Can we have a breakdown of how much it's,
How
per
much
the
do you
month
pay a
or stuff
month?
like that? Is it possible?
Would depend, I mean, 'cause I would have to break down the insurance if it's covered personnel insurances as well. health insurance, what
And
is?
that's exactly, I think that's what that's the kind of report that we're asking, or she had asked
I'm
for.
looking at the numbers just because here it says that some of the things that we're supposed to do is, adhere to things that we can change or add to this, right, to make it better. So to make something better, I would assume we're gonna need money for that. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, where is it that we can get that from? But I can't understand this because
Just based off
obviously
of
there's,
this.
there's not enough information for us. Maybe for you because you see it on the back end, you're like, okay, I know what we can do. But our group is here to kind of help aid that and give a different perspective to what you guys have.
So if I may, are you asking for the line items that go into each?
I would say that I think that there needs to be more clarity with this, and I'm not sure if that lineup would, be sufficient, or if maybe we could get like a summary of that, or I'm not sure. Like, what do you suggest?
If we can get clarification as far as, individual, I think it would be, again, I'm not following her words exactly. You see it, we don't, we have to go by you, and we're not saying, oh, Mr. Villarreal is just telling us numbers. No, we actually want to see, the numbers, where are they headed to?
How much was it spent?
How much was
is
spent for
left?
this, how much was spent for that? That way we get an idea, oh, okay, you know what? It's right there, it's black and white. It's gonna be a lot easier for us.
Yeah, well, I guess we can try to see what kind of summary we can come up with, because like I said, it's, like, let's say operations, it's like 10 different accounts. I mean, we can have the breakdown of the account, but it's gonna be pretty much the same thing. You're gonna see it, okay, well, let's add these 10 accounts, it adds up to this, and
Yeah, I guess the question will be the level of detail that is expected, and we should be able to produce that report, and I'm pretty sure for those that we were here, based on the last 2 times, the legal is being here to clarify some of the questions that the members had. They recommended for us to provide information, and depending on the level of detail,
I
we can
understand.
submit that. So I just want to get clarification, what level of detail, because we're going to be, producing a big report, which
Right.
is no problem. But I guess if we can understand better the objective of the report, so we can say, we want to come back with a report this thick, or, because we can come back with a maybe by department, but then if the question is going to be, okay, this department spend this much money on insurance, what type of insurance? Okay, let's break it down by type of insurance. Then it's going to go by facility. We have 2 facilities. So what level of detail will
Right.
we are expected to provide on which particular accounts, or all of them? I guess depending on the objective of the information, that will be the type of information that we can produce.
Well, it's very simple, Ms. Amiga. It's how much you spend a month for insurance and a total amount,
That's here.
and
That's the
that will
summary.
give you the balance that's left.
Yeah,
know?
that's the summary that you have right here, Mr. Tan.
So
So, but
it's-
you're requesting a breakdown, so what level of
Okay.
breakdown do we need?
I think I understand what you're saying, because, and the simplest way to put it is, if you don't have the right questions, you can't get the right answers. So, I understand that. And this is why I think we do need that clarification with legal on what our scope is and how far we can go into it. But according to what's on this document here that they provided to us at the beginning of this committee, right, was that our goal is to review monthly and statistical reports and special surveys. And the last survey that we did review, it was just numbers. It makes no sense. I'm a systems engineer. I look at data all the time. So when I look at that and you can't do anything with it, it's invaluable, right? And we don't want you to come and spend your time doing all these things, bringing all these documents, putting that extra work into this, and not have it create something. We are both on the same teams, but that's why I think right now we need to talk about what are our goals. So once we establish our goals, then we can look back at this and say, okay, this is the data we need, and that's why we need to look at it. So I would say that we need to look at what our goals are together, because we need to listen to what your goals are through your department, and then we need to see how we can enhance that. So if you want to start with some of those goals, or if you want to share.
Back to this item,
Basically, and please correct me if I'm not understanding it correctly, but basically, and just to give you a little historical background on this report. We used to get the report a while back that actually broke it out in a little more detail. Y'all are getting it from the AS 400, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And basically, that's just an accounting system that the city uses. And that accounting system has the capability of providing reports, either very general reports or very detailed reports, depending on what it is that we're asking. And I guess what we need to decide is, what is it that we're asking? Are we looking for ways that that we can help provide input in terms of, well, first of all, why are we getting our other report, right? What is this report supposed to show us? And if this report is not showing us what it's supposed to show us, which is kind of what I'm hearing from some of the members of the committee, then what is it that we need on that report to show us what it is that is functioning, or how the organization is functioning financially? And I'm trying to remember, several years ago, I believe this item was put on there because there was a request for a rate increase. And that's how it started, to make sure that everything was being done internally, so that the clients or the customers that we serve would not have to feel the bite of an increase in a fare. And that was the original, again, I could be wrong, it was a few years back, was the original reason why we were getting this. And to make sure that, because at that point, we also had an aging fleet, and to make sure that everything was being done, and that these aging buses were actually costing more than it would cost us to purchase some new buses to switch them out. So, if I remember right, that was some of the intent. But if this is no longer serving the purpose or what the committee feels is what we need to look at, then that's what we need to discuss and see. If we want, we can put it on for a discussion of the next one to see what it is that we can go in, or what it is that we're looking for. We had a workshop about 10 years ago. I don't think we've had one since then, concerning things like this. So,
If I could, I have to present a budget where I work, and I have these numbers where my totals are, but my supervisor asked for breakdowns, like my travel budget, let's say.
right.
Well, what does that travel budget for me mean? Some might mean, flying, others might mean driving. Well, I have to break that down. So I think that's what we'd like to see, because then those budgets have to be approved by my superiors at where I work. So I think what we'd like to see, or at least I would like to see, is what makes up the operation support center as a breakdown, where the line, so that we can see, so we can have at least an input, so that we can have or give an opinion as to, okay, well, maybe we could try this, or maybe we can, maybe we don't need so much of this or that, so that we could tweak it a little bit. 'Cause I understand what this is, that this is the entire budget, but where's the breakdown that makes up all of this? Where's the fuel and lubricants, what type of lubricant? And I don't know, I'm just, because I don't know what this is. I agree with you. I'd like to see the line items that makes up.
That totals up the amount that is shown for us.
Right, that is the total. I get the line item and the totals, but what makes up the total? In other words, let's just take, for example, I don't know what I'm looking at here, but let's just say fuel and lubricants. Is there different grades of lubricants that perhaps are used, or different types of lubricants that, again, we don't know by seeing this. I would like to see that, so that we can have at least an idea to be able to.
Even that
form an
makes it,
opinion.
I guess, a bit more complex report, because I get to see the account total. Let's say fuels, we have a diesel and a unleaded account. We add those totals, so that makes up fuels. But we're not seeing fuel from ExxonMobil, fuel from Shell. That's like a whole different department who takes care of it. So maybe it makes the report a bit more complex in everything, because I get to see the grand totals and the accounts summaries, but I won't see like lubricants. Are we using synthetic? Are we using
Right.
10W30? What are we purchasing? How much are we purchasing? I don't get to see that. Our maintenance department, our buyer from the maintenance department gets to see that, gets to see those contracts. but we don't get to see those breakdowns.
Yeah,
And
I
I
don't
feel
think,
like that's, I'm sorry.
yeah, go ahead, go.
I feel like that's where the accountability happens, where we're able to say, are those connections, partnerships benefiting us, or is there someone else that we can look at for that? You know, that's like down to this microscopic level if we want to go there. But once again, I'd like to, I want to say something, just to put it out there. And I don't know if this is being recorded, but it's fine. And it's actually relevant to this. So I met with someone, and this is why I started kind of becoming more involved. I met someone that traveled from Michigan and moved to Laredo many years ago. And he has cerebral palsy, right? And so he wasn't able to be accepted into the program because he's slowly becoming more disabled, right? But there's so many issues that, you know, should be addressed. But I know that we had mentioned at the last meeting that we should have like a gathering of the people that are actually using these services to come in and, you know, pitch what they see is necessary. Because there's also got to be an increase in morale, because you don't want to make your employees also feel like, oh, we're giving them more work, now they have to carry this, now they have to check for this, now they have to, you know, all that additional stuff. We want to increase morale, we want to make them feel good about providing a better service. So I think that some of these, some of these things that we need to put together to have like a better process for us to actually solve a problem need to be put in place before we can move forward.
So very good.
And I think I understand what you're saying. Hopefully, we would like a little bit more of a breakdown on the report. Again, I'm just trying to summarize. A little bit more of a breakdown on the report, but not necessarily drill down to, you know, ExxonMobil or Pennzoil or anything like that per se. But to find out what it does, oil and lubricants, what is it in there? A while back, there was an issue that came out, and it was on, and this is many years ago, that on parts that were being purchased, and it turns out that there were a bunch of light bulbs, which, you know, it was just a big chunk of light bulbs that came out. I'm not necessarily saying that that's what our committee does. That would be through something else. What I think what we're saying is give us a little bit more detail as to what it is that goes into making the big chunk of insurance or the big chunk of this.
Right, because from what I see, this is like a 30,000-foot view that we're getting, which is fine. We don't necessarily want a 500-foot view, which would be talking about Exxon. We might have to go there, but let's take a 10,000-foot view, you know, because this is way up here, and it's great that it's being summarized. Let's get another closer view, and then if we have to, as a committee, then decide, then go down to a further level. Why not do it? Because I know it's going to be extra work, but I think in the long run, I think we're going to be better. We're all going to be better served, as well as our ridership, to be able to see what it is that we can do so that we can, I think, positively affect, or at least make decisions, informed decisions. That would help me. I don't know if anyone agrees with that, but I would like to see that.
So, if I can suggest something, there is a chart of accounts that basically is going to state this line item include this, and that. And it's not going to give the ExxonMobil detail, but it's going to say lubricants, it's going to say this, it's going to say that. So on that report that you have right now in front of you, we can put the list,
Right.
the line item, the chart of line items, that's going to fall under that.
That totals this number.
Correct.
Yes.
But it will be like a list. It's gonna
Yes.
say, you know, lubricants, it's
Yes.
gonna say fuel, it's
Yes.
gonna say benefits for employees, in the case of personnel, wages, insurance, pension plans, and things of that nature. So probably that will be a good start as far as clarification, and then after next meeting, we can all agree and decide that the detail on which account you want to start tackling and saying, okay, let's start with this, let's start with the next one.
Then if we have to drill down further,
Prioritize. Yes.
yeah, I agree.
But my suggestion will be to include the chart of accounts, to that report under each item. And then after the next meeting, you can say, okay, let's tackle whichever you all decide, let's go to this one. Let's bring the details on that one, and so on and so forth. So, you know,
I think that's a,
That's
is
appropriate.
that what we're looking at least taking a step to figure out what's going on?
We're gonna be taking baby steps, Mr. Chairman. It's gonna be baby steps that we're actually gonna be taking, you know, due to the fact that the committee we're moving forward and we're looking at, you know, the reports the way they should be looked and the way that we, you know, this committee has been appointed by councilmen, so we do report back to our councilmen. At least I know my councilman calls me after, you know, we have the meeting, hey, how did it go, what happened, you know, stuff like that, and I give him my side of the story. Again, it's recorded, so there, you know, there's no ifs and buts and whats about it, you know, that I'd be lying, but since we are rolling forward and we are moving forward, you know, I think it would be, you know, baby steps, and, you know, I so call for, the report that she's stating, that we start off with that, and, you know, start looking at the itemized items and see if it's hard to our,
And just like he said, so we can come down to the total amount, so we know what it's all about.
And you're making that in the form of a motion, or?
yes, sir. I would bring it up into a motion,
I'll
accepting
second that
her,
There's a first and a second, is that more or
Is
less
that-
what we're looking for?
is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's
I mean,
fine.
You're
Is that
fine with
what you're
that?
looking for? sir?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Gentlemen, Mr. Geisler?
All right, so I'll go ahead and call the question, so that we can, I guess, put that for the next meeting.
Yes, sir.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So thank you for that suggestion. Because I didn't know if we could get the chart of accounts on that. I mean, not necessarily looking at them, but yeah, that's good. And that was the revenue report. Any other questions that you may have on staff reports and communications before we move on to action items? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
one last thing, and just for, I guess make sure that we stay on the agenda. I would recommend to change, because I went back 2 years on the different meetings, and we have this called as revenue report, but I think it's moving more into a possibly financial report, where we're gonna discuss revenues and expenses.
Correct.
So my recommendation would be to change this, rename from revenue report to maybe financial report.
Yes, I saw that.
That will allow us more flexibility with the discussions and things like that. So if somebody can make that motion, we'll rename, and from there on, we'll continue and build as, you know, detailed as you all.
We'll take it forward from there.
I'd like to move to the effect what Ms. San Miguel just recommended to us, so it can be changed that way.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the action items. No other. Look at this. You don't have one.
The next item would be the update on Wi-Fi for buses and vans.
You know about that, they have that report? I don't. Oh, alright. So on the Wi-Fi, I mentioned briefly last time that we have been working with our current budget for the last year or so to try and bring and install all the required hardware into the buses and to the vans. So most of their report is that we have all the new vans, the lift vans, because they have the Wi-Fi installed. All the buses have the Wi-Fi installed, the hardware. And we have 11 vans pending to install the hardware required, which is like a little, I don't know what would be the name of it.
The router maybe.
Maybe it's not like a router in
The
the
router
house.
modem.
There's a name to it, I apologize that I don't recall right now. So we have 11 vans. And the list of things that I'm requesting on this next budget review for council to approve, I'm requesting the $30,000 required to purchase the remaining, because like I mentioned last time, we've been building in the inventory little by little. we're at the point that we are 11, it's only $30,000, so I'm gonna be requesting that into our next budget workshop. At that point, we're gonna require $40,000 for recurring fees, which is your service, your data service, to keep the buses, the Wi-Fi operating. So if all goes well and we all support, we should be able to get this done pretty soon, because it's only $30,000 that we're gonna be requiring. So let's say October 1st, we can approve this money, it'll probably be a month and a half after that, because we'll have to bid out the data contract, whether local providers can do. We know, based on current experience, that certain areas of the city, they get really good service with AT&T, and some areas they don't, and some areas they do get service with, very good service with Verizon. Still, we have to bid it out, because that's our process. We have to bid it out and make sure that the lowest responsive bidder can confirm and certify that they're gonna be able to service this Wi-Fi for the buses.
So just as clarification, you said the 30,000 will be for the remaining 11?
For the remaining 11,
The
yes,
hardware, yes.
the hardware,
Hardware,
those little routers that go on the buses. $40,000 is the estimated based on current information that we have that it will cost.
Recurring
the data.
for the data.
That's an additional,
data.
in addition to the 30?
That will be every year,
Okay,
like
and
cell phone
that's
data?
for the service?
Yes,
Okay.
That should be the additional, right?
yes.
So this was gonna be like a guaranteed maximum.
That's an
And
estimate based on, local providers, not bid it out, just telling us should be more or less this amount, but we have to bid it out.
Ms. Amiga, question, if you would bid it out, would we find anything under a less amount, or do you think it would be just about
We're
the same?
expecting to get a better price.
Okay.
Obviously, like I said, that's kind of your retail price. That's what we have, and that's what I can provide right now.
Okay.
That's your retail price. Once you bid it and you engage into a possibly 1, 2, 3-year contract with the providers, it gives them more flexibility to give us a better rate.
Lower price.
And that will be basically the expectation.
And I think we would be able to leverage the fact that we're adding the other 11 to the existing account,
Yeah.
I would think.
Correct. And any growth that the Metro Lift might have, it's gonna bring a bit more business to them. So the expectation will be that we'll be able to get a better discounted rate. And then again, as a municipality also, we should be able to get certain discounts, so.
And the providers do have a different department that deals specifically with governmental entities.
Government doing it.
Yeah. So they have a little bit different price structure. So hopefully, it will be a lot better.
So and being optimistic, we're months away from having Wi-Fi operation for both a lift and the fixed route buses.
Which again would be a fantastic service for a lot of our clients.
Right. I mean, we have a lot of commuters, a lot of students, a lot of people that wouldn't work. So I believe we're going to be helping in some other ways other than just providing a convenience.
And, I mean, I travel throughout the country and different cities, they promote that the Wi-Fi is on the buses, so that affects their ridership in a positive way, whether it be on the actual bus, I've seen it on subways too, where they have that.
Right.
I mean, I didn't know the New York subway system had that, and you're underground, so it makes a difference for the ridership, at least for me it did.
I rode Greyhound the other day, and it was like excellent service on it. It was like better than the one I have here at my house with Spectrum. Honestly.
Yeah, they do have and you can charge your.
Yeah, and then you have the phone to charge
It's the
your
same as
phone.
the phone.
Does the
Yeah.
city do we currently do something like that to promote, or would that be something we could look at also to see
That
the?
is something that could be looked at.
The city already adopted that idea last year, right?
Yes.
Through the city manager, they barely started. They inquired with San Antonio and Austin, and I think that's where they got the idea. The city manager then was Horacio de Leon. Remember, he brought it up for an agenda item, and that's why I'm surprised, since you fall under the umbrella of the city. Like, how come they didn't include you guys, or is that a separate deal?
As far as the city, I'm not familiar with what sort of directions
Because I
I
remember
have
the
received.
directors, at least the director heads, they have a tablet that they take with them. Kind of looks like something like that, but like smaller. And I think it's through AT&T, and it gives them Wi-Fi wherever they're at.
Oh, that's
In
fine.
their meetings and stuff like that. It's kind of like us.
But, yeah, but there is a, I guess, you're quasi-city, is that correct? Because it's a contract that you're under, through the,
Correct. I mean, the LTMI is a sub-corporation contracted to manage the transit system for the city of Laredo. But going back to the original question, I guess at that point, and like I say, hopefully, in a couple of months after the next budget gets approved, we'll be able to do a full-blown marketing campaign to let the public know that this
That'd be
is
awesome.
available, and also at the transit center. So, but we're starting with a process, and like I said, I'm optimistic that we're gonna be able to get this rolling here pretty soon.
Yes, because it'd be something very nice for ridership too.
Oh, yes. It's an added convenience,
Yeah.
and some people do take advantage of it.
That's right.
And
That's
could be
right.
students, could be people that need
That's
to.
where I was going, the
Need it.
students.
And it's there.
LCC students especially.
I think it's
That's
something to
Everybody
be
in
very
particular, but
useful.
LCC students.
It's gonna be very
LC
useful for
for
everyone that
direction.
bikes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
So-
well, that's good. The case, I so move to that effect.
I'm sorry, could you restate the motion?
Then I so move to the effect of what Mr. Miguel was asking us on the Wi-Fi's.
Perhaps a future, or a marketing campaign, I would think, but I would think we would set this first
Right.
and then move to campaign. I
Right.
think, yeah, so that we don't get ahead of ourselves perhaps. Yeah, I think after the install maybe, then the committee, we can all get together. And once we have the hardware, so that we don't I think, so that we won't promote it and then we get ridership and then it's not functioning. I would rather that we do all the install of the hardware, then we get our contract, and then we set a motion forward for a
I
campaign,
agree.
if that's okay.
I agree with that. So I am in my motion to that effect, sir. To do it, first what we need to do, and then,
So we're asking for a progress report. on
Right,
this For the next couple of
Right.
meetings as things
it
progress.
needs to be done in steps, so that's the way we're supposed to do it.
Yes.
As you're getting the baby steps, to the actual deal,
Right.
maybe you can bring us back
We can leave
something.
this item, so every meeting I can come back with updates. That could be
Okay,
it
we
running.
can call it
An update report,
I
an update report on it.
Wi-Fi status report or something like that, or Wi-Fi
We just
status item?
Update on Wi-Fi, we can just leave it
Okay.
there.
Yeah,
on the
Wi-Fi
Wi-Fi.
status would be
We'll leave it
fine.
there.
That's fine.
So
That's for
that's
running.
your amendment, your motion.
Right,
Agreed.
right, sir, right.
That's
Right.
Okay, is there a second to the motion? For
Second motion.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I believe B is
The community outreach.
outreach.
So, on that one, I guess I'll briefly speak about it. I know we have our community outreach coordinator, Ms. Monica Garcia. Maybe we can have her come out next time, give you guys a little bit more brief into her projects. I know she has some stuff to promote El Metro. As far as social media, I know El Metro did used to have a page.
Right.
There's a lot of legalities towards you can and can't post, who's authorized to use it, liabilities. So we're still looking into it as to keep using. I know Facebook used to be used before Twitter. And like I mentioned, maybe we can invite our community outreach coordinator and
Yeah, on that one, I would recommend to, since we're gonna invite legal to be here, so they can address that.
And-
The city has adopted new guidelines for that, so I'd rather have them explain.
Yes.
All right.
But they'll be here, so we'll let them know the items in particular that you wanna discuss.
So we'll go ahead
We'll
and
include this.
For next
Call for a
meeting.
motion to table the item and bring it back on the next meeting?
Yeah.
Correct.
All right, motion on the table, is there a
So
second?
move to table that item.
The social media section of it.
Correct.
Correct.
The other one, Ms. Garcia will come back and report.
Right, for the next meeting.
The outreach.
I made the motion to table it for next meeting.
yes.
Yes.
To have legal here with us, right?
Is that
Correct.
clarification? I believe Mr. Avila made the motion.
Yeah.
No,
and there's a
second.
second. Just to clarify. And, okay, there's a motion second, all those in favor?
Uh,
All opposed?
The next one, here you go, Mrs. Cole. The life expectancy on the
All the vehicles.
vans and buses. This one was provided to them, but they were right.
So, and that's what I was gonna ask, this is life expectancy, right? Not
Right.
life expectancy?
Life's life.
Yeah, because a while back, we were looking at lifts, the actual physical lifts.
Okay, whatever. So, this one. Just
Okay, I'll try to do that. They have it here, right?
see, let's see, okay. Maybe I can go over it. So on our 42 total fixed route fleet buses that we have, our oldest one is we have two 2006 Bluebirds CNGs. So as you can see, it will give you down, the report will give you a breakdown, like the number of buses for that year and model we have. And at the year in parentheses, you have the life expectancy for it. So usually our fleet, the majority is an aging fleet, except for like the 2019, 17s, 15s, and 11s are still good. Anything other than that, like the 2009s have a 12-year life expectancy, so the 12 years end at 2021. So that's usually when they'll reach their life expectancy, and then we'll just keep up with maintenance. And as we've mentioned before, their preventive maintenance is 100% on time, because we still have 2006s running. Their life expectancy is over 3 years past due. The 2009s as well, their life expectancy just reached.
So what is the industry standard on that?
What's in parentheses?
No, it's the- I don't think I have
The
that.
10 years or 5 years or
10 years.
10 years.
And that's the industry.
That's the
standard.
recommended manufacturer life expectancy.
The manufacturer, okay.
Mhm.
But industry-wide is like
Yeah.
the same or longer in life expectancy?
Actually, this numbers that you see here, the 10 years for medium or light duty buses, or 12 years for the heavy duty buses. That's the Federal Transit Administration guideline.
Okay.
It's not the manufacturer.
So if I'm reading this correctly, let's take for example the Bluebirds. Their life expectancy is 10 years, so 2016, they've reached their
3
life
years
expectancy. So we're
past.
three,
Yes.
that's what I'm reading
Correct.
correctly? Okay.
Yes. And there's two things on that one, and I always take the opportunity to make the convenience, I guess, pricing for our maintenance department, that we have vehicles that are, years past their life
Their lifetime,
expectancy.
yeah.
That really speaks on the level of maintenance that is being provided for these vehicles.
And that's kind of what I was trying to get at.
So, yes.
Yeah.
We're spending more money to keep them up to date and repaired.
Oh, definitely. The cost per mile is gonna be much, much higher than a new Gilly bus or any brand bus that is new. I mean, the operating cost for a 2019 bus is gonna be under 10 cents a mile. Whereas one of these 2006 probably gonna be $1.40 a mile.
$1.40 a mile?
So really, there's no question whether we should be replacing them or not. We should be replacing them.
And these are the vans that are 100.
These are the buses.
buses.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm sorry, the buses.
Yes.
These are 109?
No, the buses are $500,000.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, these are, okay.
The
Yeah.
fixed route?
No,
No, the big buses.
Mhm.
The other one.
But the vans is included here as well.
That's a lot.
Oh, yeah. It's really there, I mean, there's no question on anyone's mind that we need to replace these buses.
How many,
But then again, the capital dollars are not there for transit. We receive about $450,000, give or take, from both the federal and the state government a year to replace vehicles. So it already pays for one bus. And as you can see here, we have 10, 11, 13, 15 buses that, well, actually it's 12, 13, 14, 15 buses, yes, those right, that we should already have an order. We all know that it takes a year and a half to get them. Like if I had, $500,000 on my hand, it's gonna take a year and a half to get it, if I order that bus today. So we're definitely behind. We're being very successful in getting support from council to continue with the fleet replacement, but it's definitely a lot that has to be done to catch up on the fleet. But like I said, I mean, we're getting a lot of support. We ordered 5 and we have more, 1 more coming in, but that's it. After that, we have nothing else coming in. So
For the
the
next-
capital,
For the next,
we don't have anything in order. So that requires capital dollars. And that will be basically, the only alternative is basically borrowing money.
which we're not ready to do.
Well, a metro by itself is not ready to do it. You're gonna go back to the zero able to make that investment into the fleet.
And are there going to be, well, I know they've been cutting back, but are there going to be any possibilities of any grants coming up that might help with that?
Well, right now, the only grant that is out there is for vehicle replacement. It's called zero or low emissions buses.
How did, and I'm sorry for interruption, how did Webb County get those, how many vans did we get, Rosie, on that other one? 3?
3.
And we got one freebie, or what was it?
We got 3 and 1 freebie,
Yeah.
or 1 half price.
How did they get those? Under
I
what
don't know
grants?
what grant.
It was through a grant.
It was through a grant.
So essentially, there's an incentive for greener emissions, right? So that's why there's grants for that.
Yes, yes. Right now, the only source for capital dollars for vehicle replacement will be the federal dollars.
Right.
Those are all competitive grants, meaning that we compete with the entire United States.
Right.
And the last call for projects, the only one that has been out there for vehicles, what is that?
Amber up
Was for zero or low emissions. Zero will be electric buses. Low emission is going to be a hybrid. Those are diesel, electric.
I know we had talked about this before, right? Sorry, that's.
I believe at the
Yeah.
last meeting we were discussing.
So the only dollars available right now on the table from the federal government is for zero or no or low emissions. At this point, we're not prepared to deal with electric buses here in the city, and as we discussed briefly on this, that the investment for a charging station it's about $750,000, and the bus itself is close to $1 million. So
And how big
whether
are these grants?
I'm sorry.
And how big are the grants that you can apply
There,
for?
I mean, you can apply for as many, basically. I mean, I believe the ceiling is really high. I mean, we can potentially apply for, let's say, 10 buses. Whether hybrid, which will be our recommendation, a hybrid bus, those are electric diesel, or fully electric. But then the investment needs to be done on the charging stations and also on our shop to maintain these vehicles and personnel.
And battery.
Oh, batteries, it's gonna be about $200,000 every other year that needs to be replaced. So it's really a
It's an
challenge.
ongoing thing.
It's really a challenge. I mean,
Smart.
eventually we'll graduate to that level. I'm pretty sure we will. The city of Laredo will. Are we ready to go out and do this commitment? I'm not sure. As of right now, the direction is being to
So do you
continue
guys
with
have a plan
CNG.
for that though? Like, do you have like a schematic or like that's kind of what I was trying to ask last time.
Mhm.
Like, is there, I know that right now you're focused on this, just getting your new fleet, but it is where the world is moving and we don't know, who will become the president of America and, next year. So we don't know if there's gonna be even more incentives for green energy next year, So I'm just asking, is there any data or analysis already that have been conducted specifically for the city of Laredo for that?
For specifically.
For this, to look at because there is a depreciation to the vehicles, right? There's so many things there are so many factors that go into play when, looking at this, the maintenance and, how you guys have been doing in the last, let's say, decade with the maintenance of these vehicles that you say need replacement. There are a lot. I know it said here that the red indicates the useful life benchmark, and it's like all of these, right? So it's most of them, right? And that's why I'm asking, like, it's like, would you rather have a half load if it was possible of all of these vehicles? And like in a perfect world where you had the money for that, it would be convenient, right? So I'm just looking at like the possible scenarios, like have we even looked into that? Because right now it seems like it's not even possible, we're not even gonna look at that. But it's like, what if it is, and what if it will be?
Well, I mean, we are required to have a vehicle replacement plan. The direction as of today from council has been to continue with CNG replacement. So the plan is in place, and be more than glad to share with you all the vehicle replacement plan that tells, it's gonna show year by year how many vehicles we know that we can realistically replace every other year, based on available funds to us through the city of Laredo. So we have that, and we're more than glad to include that in your reports. But basically that's where we stand. I mean, we do have a replacement plan. I have it right here. We're very glad to share it.
I'm just
and it's gonna
interested in
outline.
looking at that because like I've done analysis for manufacturer companies, and you're talking about multi-million-dollar companies that you look at and you would say, oh, looking at this, well, it looks like it's more convenient for us to do this, when in the long run, when you really assess it at a microscopic level, there can be, I'm not saying there is, but there can be a trade-off. So it's like if that trade-off is possible, like it needs to be analyzed and looked at. I'm not saying it is, I'm just saying we just need to look at it.
But you say you have a report already, right?
Yes.
For
current plans.
her current plan.
Yeah.
Can you share that with
Yes.
with us in the next meeting,
We'll do.
Mr. Chairman?
If there's a motion to that effect.
I'd like to motion.
Okay.
Vehicle
And I'll second
replacement
that.
plan.
A second.
I'm sorry?
Vehicle replacement plan to be included.
Correct.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, do we have any other questions or concerns on the expectancy presentation of this guy?
All I can say that some of them are over expectancy and they're still working. They're still around.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, yes, we are. Besides us, Mr. Chairman. We're talking about the van.
Yes.
Well, we might as well be included in there, right,
I guess so. It's better to be included than to be
Excluded.
excluded.
All right, the committee attendance status and policy. Item D.
I included a chart of the attendance for everyone. I guess where we stand is the policy still is the same. The three strikes pretty much are out this policy
In a year,
in
right?
a year. After this meeting, I will have to send, advise council and send out letters for anyone. I guess the only thing I can really say is pretty much the direction of council, whether they want to reappoint the same members, it's pretty much up to them. I just, as a liaison, just to follow my job, my protocols, I would have to, anyone that has 3 or more absences, send out the, it's, I guess you can call them disqualification.
Reminder.
A reminder and signed, and council, your appointed council member also gets a copy. And then ultimately, I guess you'll default out of the committee, and then it's up to council if they want to reappoint you.
They'll decide.
Yes, it's ultimately up to them. It's just, my job is just to follow the policy that they, ordinance was then, that they instilled, and I just need to follow it. It will be up to them.
Does the
Discussion on that, please.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Arias?
I believe I had asked for, not the last meeting, but the previous one. We need, per se, my brother passed away and I was at his funeral. How could not that be an excuse?
And I mean, I totally understand how harsh the rule is, but it's been in place and we've had this
No, I
decision for
understand
us to
that.
where they're.
But I would like to hear it from legal. I would like legal to get involved in it and let's look at it. Last time Ms. Centeno was absent was due to the failure of, on the paratransit not picking her up. How can that be an absent counted against her.
But even after that, she has 4 absences.
No, no.
That's
Yes,
not what it's
sir.
showing here.
That's what I'm gonna question. In January,
8,
did we have a meeting?
yes. We have all the same
I'm very stunned because you know that I'm never absent. Why was I absent? Maybe it was because I had my sister in the hospital and I had to go to San Antonio. And then in April, I don't recall. In May it's when Mr. Avila is saying,
And then the last meeting.
I'm
in the
questioning.
last meeting, yeah, it was my mistake.
Well, we have all the recordings, is that correct, Mr. Guerra? I would like to ask on mine on January. I totally admit the one in May and July. I'm aware of those, but I was not aware on the January one. So if we can get clarification on that, I would appreciate it.
That was the one in May?
Yes, 'cause I know I carry the signing sheets with me. So for January, we only had Mr. Geisler, Mr. Gaspar, and Mr. Kazin come in. There's a signing sheet for January.
Do we know, or does it, I guess we'll ask this of legal. Do we know if it's calendar year or
Calendar
if
years.
it is calendar, it says calendar?
It's on the ordinance, yes.
Okay, not fiscal
So in
year.
other words, in October, we start a new
No, calendar year, January to December.
January to December.
Calendar, year, he said. In May was when they questioned the fact that why was I marked absent? When we had that problem, remember, Mr. Rivera? And it was on my understanding through Mr. Kaysen that I had not been marked
But
absent.
even after that, July would be the 3rd one, which would be the last meeting.
Yeah, July, but I admit, July was my fault, because I came in the following day.
So it would really make no difference if it's an absent or a present on May, if on July would have been
We
the
would
3rd
still
one.
send it to the councilman.
Yes.
I
But
understand.
ultimately, it's, like I said,
I would like to hear the thing is, I don't recall the one in January, and I don't recall the one in
I mean, whenever we do send
in
out
July.
letters,
I do accept I was absent, and I know what I did, it was my mistake.
and whenever we do send out letters, I guess default letters, that we send a copy to council as well and to legal, we do attach the signing sheets as a backup, so they do get them. I know on several of them, I did go back on the tape because I prepared a biannual report. On a lot of them, to me, was like, well, I remember this person was here. I went back to the tapes. I know on some of them, Mr. Avila didn't sign in. So I heard the tape, saw the video, you were there. So all of them have been verified already because I submitted a biannual report to city secretaries. But on the forfeiture letters, we do attach as a backup a graph like this and these sign-in sheets. If more detailed requested by legal or by a council member, then we do provide the tapes.
Because I do question the one in January, and I do question the one in May. Maybe the other two, there had to be a big reason why I was not here.
And like I understand, I mean, it might be something you guys want to bring up to your council members to legal as to
That's fine, I
the
can discuss
absences
with
and
them.
absences.
You know, once I see everything, you know, I can discuss with anyone what happened, you know.
I guess what we can do is, because that calls into question a whole lot of stuff.
For the next one as to who and who will be
We
active.
need legal to come in on this one.
And even this meeting.
How can they have to be working on somebody preparing the program?
I get,
He would be an absent.
if we can table this till the next meeting to find out and get clarification. And then, I guess if we can do that, because I'm still wondering, based on this, if we still have a quorum. Yeah.
Because I do remember a couple of times, Mr. Rivera, if you remember, that I called, are we gonna have a meeting? Because I hadn't gotten a call from you. And you said, well, we still don't know, we don't know if we have a quorum or not. more than likely we will not have a
Oh,
quorum.
yeah, that ended before December. Remember, after that, we had to have a meeting.
Was it before December?
Yes.
Yeah, we do have, I mean, we have a
Yes.
quorum.
That was,
But it's also depends on who's made motions and the votes and all that we've had.
Yes, that was,
See, it really surprises me being absent 4 times, you know, that's what, as you all well, Mr. Kaiser, Mr. Kaysen, Mr. Avila, I'm always here.
that was before the ordinance took effect, and then once the ordinance took effect, we were instructed to no more letting you guys know in advance whether there will or will not be a quorum.
And I
We
know
just
that,
set dates, show up, and if there's a quorum, we have a meeting, if there's no quorum, then we just don't have a meeting.
no, and I know it's been brought up by the media a couple of different times, that it's kind of ironic that it's the volunteers that have a more strict attendance policy than those that are, I guess you could call them semi-volunteers or quasi, but anyway, that's my opinion. But I guess if we can
If,
make a motion to clarify for.
yes, I would like to make that, because I see here this report, Mr. Somerville, I only see one absent, and how many times was he absent?
We only-
It's like, and I only see one
I
absent
would have
for
to
him.
go back on his, oath date, that also affects for him.
But he had already been appointed, sir, with all due respect.
But
He had
was-
already been appointed, and you
You
brought
can
it to
be
the
appointed,
table,
but
and you
you-
stated, excuse me, you stated that he had already been appointed. When I sent out a text to the councilman that appointed him, y'all had the wrong email, that's why the gentleman was never coming up to the meetings. Now, that falls on y'all, that does not fall on Mr. Somerville. That would fall on y'all, because you had the wrong email. I've been digging around, because this is correct, incorrect. One absent, it is incorrect, Mr. Chairman, because you know that he had been absent prior to one absent, because we had already been appointed. And if you're appointed, you stated for the record that he is already part of the PAC
Yeah,
committee.
that's simple, we can just go back, and if it adds up to 3, then that's another forfeiture that we'll have to send.
Before we.
But yes, but then the report is inconsistent, it's not correct.
For Mr. Somerville,
Let us
not the
get,
rest.
gentlemen, if we can, for the next meeting, again, if I can have a motion clarifying this, and this is one of the things I guess we can bring up with legal to clarify for us, what does constitute an absence, what isn't and isn't, on and on. I do know that there's discussion about changing ordinances and all that, but discussion for changing an ordinance and not changing an ordinance.
Because I really have a concern, Mr. Chair,
Yes, and it's a valid concern, and everybody here is raising.
because we
good
have
points
people
about it.
here that never came to the meetings, and they were never disbarred from, not from coming, right or wrong.
If it would depend if it was before or after the ordinance.
And I would ask that we would have this listed as a, again, I need a motion.
Can we get a table on this item and bring, get a legal opinion on the next,
I so move
Make a
that we
motion on
should
that,
this
please.
item for next meeting,
There's a motion, is there a second?
to bring legal, for a legal opinion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to get a clarification, an opinion from legal for our next meeting. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call the question. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I guess, I mean, it's, I would still have to discuss with legal, because either way, the 3 absences are there. They're,
And that is what we've already made the motion on. That
yes,
we're
but
getting-
who's gonna be active to be here?
I'm
An
sorry,
active
say again?
member. Who's gonna be an active member to still be here? That's awesome.
If they are considered inactive members by legal, then they are here as members of the public, because our meetings are open
Yeah.
to the public. And we will hopefully still have a quorum if, this is, or does not, I mean, I'm guessing you're asking technical point.
Mr.
So,
Chairman, I
yes,
don't know, I can recommend maybe to do a special call meeting just to address the concerns with the legal department. So we can,
To have a
call
Go
for a
forward.
regular staff meeting and just move on with hopefully with the regular agenda. And that would be my recommendation. I don't know what, I don't wanna.
we could call a special
Just
call meeting
for-
and it does not count against people that do not make it.
Just for, specifically for, because we have like 2, 3 different items that are being listed to discuss with legal. So it will be my recommendation, I cannot speak for legal here, as far as when will they be available, but we can definitely inquire, if you can say, you know, my preference will be to meet this date at this time, I can certainly relay that to the legal department, and try to make them available with time and day that is convenient for everybody. And again, this is just a recommendation, so we don't, you know,
Right. We have a 4-hour meeting.
right. No, that's not my concern. My concern is we're gonna go back and start, and then to find out, well, member will need to be reappointed.
Right.
Right.
So maybe we wanna do that a week before, and again, it's up to you all, or a
So
day
that
before.
we have enough time to put it on the council agenda if we need it. Yeah. And also, yeah, because we do need some sort of clarification on this and a resolution to this whole situation.
Right, so maybe I'm gonna agree on a date or let us know later to do a special call just for the, that will be that one item.
Okay. And you know, and in light of that, I would,
Table the rest of the items.
yeah, table, yeah. I would request that we table the rest of it so that we can get this clarified
Right.
and figure out what it is that we, because
So we'll make a motion to go ahead and table item number D, E, and F for the next meeting coming
Regular
up,
meeting?
after clarification on the special so-called meeting.
Yeah.
So we can get clarification and see who's still on board or not, or do they have to
Yeah, we got
reappoint?
I'll
the
second to
the
that effect.
recommendations on the scope of the program, the committee, I'm sorry, and then this as well, the attendance. And then we can go back to the notes. You all have mentioned several topics that you would like to get clarifications. That'll be the
the scope, it was the scope,
the
The
scope.
social media
the social media,
and
and the
the,
clarification of.
So we can put in
attendance.
those 3 agenda items for discussion, for the special call meeting.
Correct.
Which would be number D, you're gonna put number D in there also? Is that correct?
I guess it pretty much falls under the same thing, the clarification for the committee, attendance.
That way it'd be specific and then we won't have any red tape on it.
Yeah, D, E, and F,
Yes.
and just in case. But also, what would be a good date, do you think, that you all
As
would
a-
be able to?
You can let us know right now, or as a chairman, they can let you know, and then
Anytime after 1.
you wanna.
Like they
confirm.
say, the sooner the better. That would be me,
Mhm.
Anytime after 1,
in the afternoon would be great.
yes.
So the afternoons and as soon as possible?
Yeah.
Whenever they're available.
I believe we have
Or Mr.
Mr. Gomez.
Gomez,
He's got a
right.
preset schedule, so.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yes, I'm actually out the next 2 weeks.
And just, I guess to draw us on the record, special call meetings do not affect the attendance policy, so just so you guys are aware. It's only the regular scheduled set meetings that affect your attendance policy.
Well, then now I don't have to attend you, I'll create, unless a meeting is called sometime this week, but if not, then.
That's
just let
already,
me know.
they'd have to post it 72 hours in
Yeah,
advance.
7 hours in advance, so we
Y'all
know.
can have a
Like, so
meeting
we
for
can
that.
get it, so there wouldn't be enough time.
I guess can we find out what their first available
Yes,
date
you
is?
can find out as a chairman.
And then we
you
can kind of poll.
Tuesday,
Correct.
Wednesday, Thursday, do you have any idea which day would work better, so I can let them know?
Yeah, because we also need to get in touch. Once you guys give us
So
a
any
date,
day,
we get in
pretty
touch.
much? Okay.
I'm open.
Very-
When you guys can get it done.
Great, we need to make sure that
Yeah.
they will be available, and
Sure.
we'll contact you, Mr. Casey,
Sure. And then
and,
I'll try and reach everybody.
Yeah.
as I can.
okay, sure.
Just a quick quick comment, just make sure that everybody's email is correct, or their phone numbers are correct, or stuff like that. I mean, you know,
If things
we've gone
bounce
through this
back,
before, so.
You do have my new number, right, sir?
Yes.
So the items for that agenda, just can make sure it's gonna be scope,
Mhm.
committee attendance,
And the
status
social
policy,
media.
social media,
Right.
and election of the officers.
No, that's table
Well,
for
That
the
would
next
be for
table.
regular.
For the regular
Okay.
meeting,
Yeah.
because we want to make sure that that we have, that in case somebody makes a motion, that it's a valid motion,
Okay.
and, yeah,
We have
A valid
quorum.
candidate with,
yeah, a
with
valid candidate.
a valid candidate.
So, yeah, and I do
Follow
want to,
that.
okay, and I do want to thank you all for being here and being patient and contributing. I mean, it's always good to have contribution when people speaking up, so. I'm guessing that we don't have anything for executive session at this point. So, if,
Mr. Geisler's favorite.
Move to adjourn.
Second that motion.
motion is second, and I believe it's unanimous.
Yes, sir.
So, thank you all again, and it's all very good points, and it's now, let's see, that clock is 3 minutes slow,
6:57.
6:57. And we adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Luis?
I wanted to ask you something, I don't know if you have a minute. Absolutely. Sure. Oh, yes.
Circulating to try and see everything.
I guess we should leave there.
I wanted to ask, how long have you been working with the company? How long have you been working with Elemental?
Pleasure, sir. See you next time.
Really? Wow.
And before that, it would
You're
have,
very knowledgeable, I'm very impressed.
and before that, you
I
would
feel like you've been working
you were
every day.
young,
You know
right?
everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been in transportation all my life.
Have a good one.
Thanks, sir. Take care. Yes, sir. I hope so.
Thank you.
They don't want me here, but I'll still be here.
I know you said you're doing, you do sales or?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
They just, I just qualified.
That's right. No problem. Because I do have some connections with some attorneys, those that represent the company that I work for and our customers, so nonprofit.
Yes.
Okay. I'll look for it.
I'm actually starting a nonprofit and I was looking to work with
Are you
different
going to-
individuals and I
Excuse me?
recently partnered up with someone at the national level that's going to be helping with fundraise. So we're ready to bring in corporate partners, but I need to get all this paperwork done as soon as possible.
Who else I can reach out to as my.
No one answers,
kids,
Mr.
1995,
And
so,
79522.
The committee that we had, the planning committee that we had there also did the
9522.
nonprofit, and I think they spoke to an attorney out there as well. So
Yeah,
they did the same steps.
Can I get your email with you?
Phone number,
Used to be Joe
956.
Brand.
Yeah.
282.
That was one of the first stores. That was one of the first stores there at the mall.
956?
282.
282?
3001.
That was in the late
And
'90s.
if you can just send me there, I'll send you my email and we'll be in contact.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was nice meeting you.
Thank you, bye.
Appreciate it.
And it was nice to meet you, Rosario,
Nice
right?
meeting you.
Rosie.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you, nice meeting you.
Yes, sir.
Igualmente.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
See you next time.
Okay, definitely made our review.
See you.
All right.
Vanessa.
Good to see you.
I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks. See if I can get my car started, not always gonna give me a ride.
I'll take you in the bus.
But it's all, I'll be your, ¿cómo se llama?
My
Your
guest,
companion,
my
your.
companion in the bus, that's
Sí.
fine.
I did see that C1 and it did have like
It
3,
looked
4
good.
people, yeah. Our buses should be